Do you know that every single week you can have the market, the stock market, kind of paying you like a salary? Well, the only thing is you need to learn how to identify the opportunities, take advantage of those, take action, get in, get out, and the market will reward you. So I'm going to show you or share with you in this video what I look for before the week happens in order to see exactly where I can find those opportunities in order to make a quick buck and then have my weekly salary by the market paid to me, at the end of the day or at the end of the week. So first of all, you don't have to be an economist. You don't have to be a finance guy. You don't have to be a technical guy. You don't have to be all of that. No. If you just pay attention to what we call the market movers, these are events, these are indicators, these are numbers that are going to be published and are very important because they can move an entire sector or they can move an entire industry. They can move a big company, and because of the weight of that company in the market, because of the market capitalization, something like Apple or Facebook, Microsoft, Tesla, those are big companies. Those are the companies that make or can break the stock market, especially if you talk about the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq 100. So you don't have to be an expert per se, but if you pay attention to those market movers events, with time and experience, you will learn how to use them in your advantage, whether the market is going up or the market is going down. So let's get into what actually works in this current season, which is earnings season. All right. So earnings season is a season where we have a lot of volatility on some of the stocks, or pretty much all the stocks, depending on the day or 2 days or 2 days prior or 2 days after the earnings are being released. So that's number one. But also every single week, there are what we call indicators, economic indicators on how the economy is doing, or the producers are doing, or the consumer is doing, some of those, or how the countries around the world is doing, and this will impact some of the stocks if you actually pay close attention to. And then, on top of these economic indicators, we also have sometimes speeches of people like the federal chair of the central bank, maybe in Europe or here in the US. So all of these will give you kind of, a glimpse of some of the things you can look for. All right. So let's just act as if because this is Sunday, right? Let's just see, okay, what will I do or what to look for the coming week and how to position yourself if you want to make a little bit of money in the stock market. I'm going to share with you few resources. All right. So if you jump into Investopedia, for example, all right, it's Sunday, and at the time of recording this video, it's almost 5 p.m. Central. So by clicking on what to expect in the market next week, it will give you a pretty clear indication on what is coming up this week. First of all, you can see here on the headlights, corporate earnings, all right, China GDP growth, and pending home sales. So as you go down, they will explain to you a little bit. This week, U.S. equity markets late as inflation continues to rise. We have the consumer CPI index, blah, 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 blah. But we have more earnings reports this zone. We also have the first quarter GDP growth in China, and we have the March housing starts and existing home sales to be released on Tuesday and Wednesday, respectively, providing an update on the U.S. housing market. This is very important, all right? So we already have there. And then the key takeaways. Earnings season continues with quarterly reports from Bank of America, Charles Schwab, Johnson & Johnson, Netflix, IBM, Tesla, P&G, Procter & Gamble, AT&T, Verizon, American Express, and others. But they start with those companies that are like the giants, those which have, a big weight into the economy and the stock market. All right. And then we have the March updates on the U.S. housing starts and existing home sales. And finally, the Chinese first quarter GDP growth figures will provide an insight into the strength of the world's second largest economy. So only by looking at these three, you can already know, okay, what to look for. So if you want to place certain stocks, these are a pretty good indication. Now, depending on the price of these stocks, and your capacity, your investing power or your trading power, then it will be like a Bank of America stock will be maybe in the 40s or the 50s now, but a Tesla is in the thousands. So if I only have $1,000 to play with, is it worth buying a single share of Tesla? Or buying a couple of dozens of Bank of America? You kind of see what I mean here, all right? And now you have the events of calendar. So on Monday, we have, these earnings from these banks, and we have the GDP growth from China and the Japan industrial production on February. On Tuesday, we have these companies releasing earnings, and then we have the US housing starts, and the US building permits. And on Wednesday, we have Tesla, P&J, Abbott, CSX, Baker Hughes, Nasdaq reporting earnings. And then we have the CPI data, inflation data from Canada. And then on Thursday, et cetera, et cetera. So it gives you these detailed kind of market moving events that are going to happen every single day. So if we take, for example, outside of earnings, if we take the US and housing starts, all right, so these potentially might be stocks like the builders, stocks of companies that build houses like a D.R. Horton, or somebody else, or also, the REITs, REITs. These are kind of like ETFs for the housing market. It's kind of like the digital real estate. You can invest in that, and it gives you the exact same exposure as as if you were to buy a house. But because you don't have hundreds of dollars to invest in a house, then you buy in these REITs, and they pay a big amount of, a good, decent amount of dividends in the form of a passive income. All right. And then you have, inflation. We already know inflation is going to be high here in the US. So I wouldn't be surprised if in inflation numbers in Canada. But if you were to pay attention to which stocks moved the most when the CPI data for US was, then there is a high likely chance that is going to also happen for Canadian stocks. All right. So this is already a lot to play with if you want to make money in the stock market, not only in the US, but also in Canada, maybe in Japan, or also in UK with the retail sales, because retail sales, for example, if you Google it, but retail sales is a good indicator because it gives you how strong the consumer are spending the money back into the economy. All right. So if that is good, then it gives a sentiment that the economy is kind of being, good somehow. And stocks of retailers, the shops, the stores, groceries, from clothing, from shoes, etc., are going to be likely benefiting from that. All right. So this is just in single one resource with Investopedia, how you can identify these stocks that you will want to start, trading or investing at least, or swing trading for this coming week. Investing.com is also another resource. And within investing.com, you also have an economic calendar and also an earnings calendar. All right. And if you jump into the economic calendar, I always filter on next week. And also I filter on the 3 stars and the 2 stars, because they will give me pretty much more details than Investopedia did when it comes to every single indicator on the economy. All right. So we have core durable goods, et cetera, et cetera. These are like things that traders, financial advisors, investment managers, traders are looking at before the market opens the next day, because there are stocks that are going to be moved based on the numbers to be provided on this, and you have the forecast and the previous. And then once it's released, you have the actual here. So looking at the earnings calendar, again, there are many companies every single day, like maybe hundreds of them every single day. But you want to make sure you filter on next week and also on the kind of the big ones, all right? Those that will attract a lot more attention, hence a lot more volume, a lot more people trading it, and giving you that volatility you need. Because when you trade stocks or swing trade stocks, you want to make sure you get those that can move. Because there are stocks that it doesn't matter what happens, they don't just move as much to give you that decent return on a daily or weekly basis. All right. So the main companies here, we have Coca-Cola, we have Cadence Design, we have Ameriprise Financial, we have Brown & Brown, we have Whirlpool, and then on Tuesday, 26th, no, that will be the following week. So let's just say this week. This week we have the Bank of America, the Charles Schwab, the financials, and then these one: Netflix, J&J, IBM, Halliburton, Travelers, Citizens, and then on Wednesday Tesla, big one, Anthem, big one, Kinder Morgan, Nasdaq Inc., Equifax, big one, M&T Bank, United Airlines, Comerica. Those are kind of the big men. And then on Thursday, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of goes back to what we had here on Investopedia, but in much more details. And because this is earnings season, if you are just picking up few that you know based on what the economy looked like on their sector, respective sector, the last quarter. Like I already know that a company like Halliburton, where is Halliburton? Halliburton is gonna be on Thursday. All right, I already know because Halliburton is an oil and gas producer, and because the price of oil has been averaging $100 a barrel at a minimum for the entire first 3 months of the year, I already know they're gonna beat expectations, and they're gonna beat expectations like with a stellar margin. So I might as well not even wait 2 days prior to the data being released. I might as well now taking a position tomorrow, because as we get closer to these dates, I'm not the only one thinking that. Pretty much the market is expecting Halliburton to do pretty good in the last quarter. So people are going to start doing the exact same thing as me. But people that are going to be early are going to be the ones to build that momentum, and then once it may gap up after hours or pre-market the following day, then that's how you make money. That's how you make the big bucks. So it gives you pretty much a decent idea of how to prepare on a Sunday, or how to prepare your week, or how to identify those stocks that have the potential to run on a specific news coming from the economy, coming from the market, but also on earnings season like the one we are already in for the first quarter of 2022. I hope it gave you a lot more insights. Of course, it's not comprehensive, but it was just to give you a glimpse of what I do. And maybe if you started doing the same thing, you can share with me in the comment section how it goes for you. But this is definitely, you can just screen all of these stocks, and there are other ways of actually screening the stocks with a stock screener, but that's going to be the topic of another video. All right, until then, please, I see you in the next one.